You've spent a lifetime running from who you are. I tried to shield you from it, and I was wrong. But the time has come to show the world what you can do. Son, embrace your destiny. Okay, we're trying this again. Let me. Okay, there. I'm talking again. I don't know why. I don't know what happened. But hey, welcome guys. Thank you so much for stopping by. Sorry for the mic problems. I don't know what exactly what's going on. If there's a short or what, but I am not going to touch my mic. But I do see that it's moving, so if anybody is listening, okay, cool. So, anyway, hey, thank you for joining me on this farewell stream. No, this closeout stream for the our comic book, The Nephilim. So, just wanted to, touch base with you guys, tell everybody, hey, what's up? Check out our videos if you haven't seen some of the things that we've been posting, we've been doing in regards to the this project. We put out a couple trailers. I don't know what the hell. There it is. There it is. I don't know what the problem is. It just comes in and out. I don't. There, it's back. Okay. All right, well, I guess I'll talk when I see it moving, and I'll be quiet when There it goes. Okay. Okay, I'm back. All right, let's see if this works, because if not, I have another mic. So, alrighty. Weird. Maybe it's just a bad cord. Let me click off and go to another screen. And then go back to it. And I'm still working, so I think it's a short. I think it was just a short in the cord. Woo! My gosh. Anyway, so guys, I just wanted to jump on here and tell everybody thank you so much for donating to this project, pledging to this project. If you haven't gotten your statue yet, guys, it's kind of hard to see. There we go in the light. Anyway, you can kind of see him. These are things that we have that are made. Everything is produced. So here's my little rings with the emblem on it. You can see that. So everything is created. These are the cards that we just got in. I'm going to show you guys these. These are the cards that we have here. They have printed on the back what you need to do to activate them. So the only thing we don't have a physical copy of yet is the comic itself, because I haven't sent that off to the publishing personnel or guys over at Critical Blast, because we don't have a number yet for them to print. So once we do that, or once we get that, we're on the road. We are on the road to getting a physical copy of the comic as well. So let me see here. Let me show you guys, for those of you just joining us, let me show you the trailers that we have been working on. Here is trailer number 1 that we put together. You're just out. Where did you learn how to drive? Hey! Muted myself. Okay, back. Sorry, guys. Again, technical difficulties with this with the mic. We had to change the cord, and then every time I stream, there's always some sort of technical, physical problem. Not used to OBS doing this to me, but let's go. Anyway, so that was the first trailer that we released, I guess a couple months ago. And it was always really cool to see our contributions that are, static images into something that's moving, something that's fluid and fun to watch and put music to and all that. So it was very cool. And this is the second trailer that we came out with. By the way, I want to thank everybody for joining me on this closeout stream. I have a ticker right below me, which is showing that we have an hour and 37 minutes left and 33 seconds left in the campaign. So if you have not gotten your copy of the Nephilim, I would appreciate if you guys just go over there, check it out. If you don't grab a copy, that's cool. But at least like and share, and that is enough. That's enough for us. So just wanted to say thank you so much. And without further ado, this is trailer number 2. You've spent a lifetime running from who you are. I tried to shield you from it, and I was wrong. But the time has come to show the world what you can do. Son, embrace your destiny.
I can't hear you.
Okay, hey, what's up? Can you hear me now? Okay, I guess you can't hear me. Let me switch over. Hold on one second. Okay, can you hear me?
Got you now.
Okay, cool. All right, and I hope everyone else can hear us. But anyway, hey man, thanks for joining me. This is Rob Ford. He is one of our producers on the project, and we've done a lot of little projects together, and this is another one that we kind of been talking about for quite some time, and it kind of like came to fruition. So I guess give everybody sort of a background on how you got involved in this particular project with me.
Yeah, Ryan, thanks for inviting me on, man. I'm just happy to be here, and just for your audience, to give us some background on our history together. I've known Ryan for probably well over 24, 25 years. It's been a while.
Yeah.
And we started our careers together at the Roadrunner call center way back in the day. And we had a lot of adventures at that place and other stops as well. And Ryan and I we've worked on several different projects over the years, and this is just the most recent sort of project that we started working on together. And when Ryan brought me this project a couple years ago, the whole concept of developing a superhero character, I thought it was really interesting because the way he described it and how he wanted to develop the character. And obviously we've been talking, you guys know the Nephilim campaign out there, and on Indiegogo campaigns out there. And we're trying to draw a lot of attention to it because it's a project that basically Ryan's been working on for several years, and it's a creation of out of the idea that he wanted to create a character that was a little bit different from the traditional Marvel and DC characters. So he came up with the idea for the Nephilim, and he sort of just kind of incubated the idea initially, and then kind of started developing out the story and the character and what's he going to look like and how does he talk, what's his whole entire background, and how the story kind of started coming together has been really cool to see. And so my role in the whole project is to help bring it out to the public, to the general public. And so, Ryan is sort of he's the creator. He's sort of the person who, comes up with a lot of the initial concepts in terms of the character, the background, how things are going to look, how the general story build out. And my job is to help people relate to it, bring it out to the general public. So that's what we're doing right now. I'm super excited about this project because Ryan's been working on it for several years. He's very passionate about it and it's very close to him. And Ryan can tell you, we've worked on many different projects, right? And this is one that's really dear to his heart. And so because he's so passionate about it, and when he originally brought it to me, I could see the work that he put in just initially, even before we got to the stage, and how passionate he was about it and how much he wanted to do the project and put it together. So I've been very lucky to be able to support this project and help bring it out to the general public.
Well, I knew to bring it to you because I know just from the past and the other things that we've worked on, is that you are somebody that I really value as far as creative input, and it's something that did help influence some of the decisions that I've been making on the story. I guess on a high level, kind of overarching how everything is gonna kind of go together, because this is the first installment in a larger, broader story. So we've got a lot of collaboration through the years, and we see eye to eye on a lot of things, but we also have different ways of approaching the same thing, or also we have a different perspective paradigm of looking at the same situation. So it's sort of like iron sharpens iron, and it's fun to have somebody that can support you, but also can kind of challenge you creatively. And that's what I really admire about Rob. So I really appreciate you being on this project. And I mean, we have other projects in the bag, but this is the one that we decided, hey, you know what, let's go ahead and get this going, and put it out there, and see if it has legs, and hopefully it does.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, you and I are very close to this project in terms of you on the development side and me on sort of the go to market side. But I think in terms of the creativity behind the project, the story itself, which is the piece of it I care a lot about, because outside of the visuals, people do connect with a story, with a good story, right? That they can relate to.
Yeah.
And so that's been a big part of the focus on the production side, is like, how do we get people to relate to this character? It's a new character. You have DC and Marvel characters have been around for many decades. And people tend to be consumers tend to be a little bit more I would say reserved about accepting a new character, right? Because you have these developed universes that have been around for several decades, and people relate to them. They grew up with them, these kind of things. So now there's a new character that we want to introduce to the general public, and we want people to connect with this character on a spiritual, emotional level, right? Understand who this character is, what his background is. And so this first installment, as Ryan mentioned, is the first installment of a series of books that are going to come out, that we're going to release. But this first one sets up the story of not only the Nephilim, but also Port City, and what Port City is about, and how it fell on hard times, and it's kind of, and it's crime ridden, and all these kind of things. And that's basically the backdrop of Nephilim, his whole story, and why he exists, right? And how passionate about the city that he is, about Port City. And that sort of sets the groundwork for this new hero that we want to bring to the general public.
Right. No, and you bringing up Port City as a character is definitely something that I wanted to touch upon, because you came up with a fantastic idea that I incorporated into the website. And you had this idea of sort of kind of telling the different boroughs or the different areas or regions of the city, and kind of give you a little bit of an overview or a deep dive, not really a deep dive, just more of an overview, high level, of what Port City is and what the different districts are. And we put that on the website, which is available now over at ZeeverComics.com. But we put that on there, and we made sort of, it started out being a slideshow, but I've changed it to a book, and it has an audio link that, as you play the audio, you can scroll through the different pages of the different parts of the city and kind of get a better idea of what Port City is all about.
No, absolutely. And when we started talking about the concept of Port City initially, because every superhero is from somewhere, right? And so we had to sort of develop the backstory for the Nephilim in terms of who is this character and where is he from?
Yeah.
Right. And that was a big piece of it for me, is to tell the story about where he's from. When you meet somebody out in general public or where we're at, one of the first questions that come up is like, hey, where are you from? What city are you from? What town are you from? People want to know that because it gives them some sort of way to gauge who you are initially before they get to know you. They want to know where you're from,
Right.
and so it was important to build that background out up front in the first release in terms of Nephilim being from Port City and telling the audience about Port City itself, so they can start identifying with the different areas of Port City, but also the different people that live in the different boroughs, and how they can relate to these different people just like they would in the real world. So that was an important part of it. The storytelling that we wanted to get out in this first release.
Yeah, so we touch upon a couple things in the book, but it is a short story, so we're not doing a lot of deep dives into any of the characters. But it is something that we are going to continue to develop and kind of give you a sense of like where all these characters are sort of coming from based on the area of Port City that they originate from or hail from or live in. So yeah, I mean, it's God, it's so rich with so many stories. And as we tell the overarching story, we have plenty of tangents, and different avenues that we can explore as we're telling the overarching story. So right now, including this book here, I'm figuring on a 10-issue story, but it depends on how long or short we tell the story, because like I said, we could say, hey, you know what, it's worth exploring this or that, and introducing other characters.
No, absolutely, and that's going to be super important to build out the world of the Nephilim even further. Through the first kind of 2 or 3 releases, and I think a lot of that too is going to be informed by the fans of this comic, right? And I think that's what makes this such a cool project, because it is a homegrown project that's starting with a grassroots movement, right? There's no big studio behind it.
Right.
There's no big following behind it right now. And so, all the fans that we're able to bring on board they're going to come with us at the ground level, grassroots, right? And so because you're coming at the grassroots, you'll be able to provide, feedback directly to the creators, right? Directly to the production team, right? And then, we want you guys to tell us, hey, this, here's some feedback, guys. This is what we'll be looking for. This is that's something I'd be excited to find out more about. And we can incorporate those ideas into the next couple releases to tell the further, the more detailed story of the Nephilim.
Sorry, I clicked a button. I'm sorry. So I don't know if you heard me, Rob, but what I was talking about, and I was just told that my audio cut out. So basically, the biggest thing for me is coming up with the fantastic rogue gallery. So you have Batman, you have the Flash, Spider-Man, Superman. They all have a great rogue gallery, and that is what helps make a good hero, is to show the antagonists and have compelling antagonists for the hero to step up to, and to be able to figure out a way to thwart whatever challenge they bring to him. So that's what I'm most important in developing, and that's what's most I don't know, I have some really cool villains coming up the pipe, and I really want to show them off, because that's gonna really ignite and kind of get the blood pumping on a lot of readers.
No, absolutely, and once the comic finally gets released, one thing the fans are going to get a view into is one of the first villains that we're going to introduce. And so, this is going to add a really interesting dynamic for the Nephilim, as he kind of works through, who this villain is and trying to understand, how to engage this villain, right? And that's going to be a big part of, sort of the Nephilim's development over the next couple, releases is not only dealing with that villain, right, to your point, but the additional villains are going to get introduced over the next couple of releases. And that's a and a very important part of a superhero, sort of story, is to have a compelling villain or compelling villains to, challenge the hero, right? To make the hero dig deeper, to put the hero in very, precarious circumstances, and allow the hero to sort of work his way through these different problems. And so that all makes for a very compelling story as you're working on the storytelling kind of piece of this series is how do we tell at each release, how do we tell compelling stories that allow the readers, the fans, to engage with the Nephilim, to get to know him, to create that connection with him, but also getting to know some of the villains who are going to challenge him over the next few releases, right? And to see how he works through those different dynamics of the different villains and how he's going to figure out, how to overcome the challenges that they put in front of him.
Right. And that was one of the reasons why I wanted him to be a young hero, because I wanted him to be a little bit, rough around the edges, immature, if you will, or, just, not really seasoned, so that when these characters do present a challenge of him or for him, what does he need to do? How does he need to approach, these types of characters in order to overcome and, save the day, or, do whatever he needs to do to protect the city that he lives in.
No, that's a key piece of it too. And I know early on we're kind of, in the development process of the Nephilim and who he is as a person. That was a big part of it. Is to your point, Ryan, is who is the Nephilim? How old is he? How old is he? And then when we figure out how old he is, and then what dynamics does that create, right? And around that, you get, we decided to go with a teenager is who he is, or a young person or a young adult, kind of in that range. And with that, you get a lot of immaturity. And I think you'll see over the next few releases, he's kind of going to work through some of those immaturity, being a young person, and some of the things that being a young person kind of, those things, the things that come about from that are things like, lack of experience in certain areas, lack of knowledge in certain areas, not fully understanding certain dynamics. And you'll see the Nephilim work through these things because he is a young person, because he hasn't had a lot of life experiences. And there's some other dynamics too that you'll get in the first series or the first couple releases, in terms of, some other things happening around his family that also help create and shape him as a young person. But these all things are elements that we have to work out in terms of, in the character development, who is Nephilim, who is he as a person, how old is he going to be? Yeah. What are the different dynamics happening around that? And then also, when you're developing a character, is the dialogue so important. Right now, I spend a lot of time talking about that. Like, how does he talk?
Yeah.
How does he have conversations? How does he engage with people? And so that was another thing too, is to, when we're developing the dialogue, is to make sure the audience knows he is a young person, because he is, but also you also have to think about the longevity of the comic. We want it to be timeless, right? Just like any other major comic release.
Yeah.
We want it to be timeless. So that's kind of a tricky thing to do, is to kind of combine youthful dialogue and speaking patterns with also the idea and the concept that you do want it to be a timely thing. If somebody reads this 20 or 30 years from now, they won't be so lost on the dialogue, because kids are going to be speaking completely differently.
Exactly.
20, 30 years from now, they might not know what the heck he's talking about, right?
Right. So, we're not putting in or slapping in modern day vernacular. What we're doing is sort of keeping, I want to say, the mentality of a young person and the outlook that they would have on reality from a person of their, I guess, age group point of view. So just, really wanted to approach it to where it's like, okay, you know what, he's going against the criminal element. Maybe he doesn't know how the cops are supposed to, handle things, or what his expectations are compared to what reality is. And that's, the same case with a lot of things. It's just like a lot of people sort of, and that's one of the things that people can identify with, is that, they're presented something, but then they're like, hey, you know what, is this how things are supposed to be, or am I just too new to this, am I just too green? So I really wanted to show, hey, you know what, this is a kid, young 20s, that really doesn't know what he's doing. He just knows that he has powers and he's doing the best that he can with them, because his father figure is no longer around or in the picture for him. So he's sort of trying to handle things the best that he can, but also still being a young person, all still having, that maybe, sense of humor, or maybe too much of a temper. As you get older, you get a little bit more seasoned, like Rob was saying, you kind of get a little bit more reserved, and you decide, hey, you know what, I don't need to do some of the things that I've been doing. But when he's young, he's impulsive. He's just kind of, just doing everything at once because he can, so very cool.
No, and just to follow up on that, one thing that the readers will get also with this first release is, you're going to see, to the point that he's a young guy. He's also has superpowers, right? And so he's a young guy, a young adult with superpowers.
Yeah.
Which adds even more dynamics to it. So it's a really interesting sort of things that kind of play out together with all these different elements that kind of come together in this first release, and the first couple of releases is going to be really interesting, and then and along the dialogue too, one thing we didn't want to do is, like, you probably want to hear like C6-7 or something like that in this comic, right? Because 20 years from now, nobody will know what that means.
Right. That's not really timeless. It's
not
very
a timeless
moment.
That's right. And it's a very trendy sort of thing. Yeah, it's like so we don't want to do trendy things. We want to do things that will stand the test of time. I think that's what you'll see with this comic is very classic comic book, elements, but also having a young hero. We wanted to make sure we kind of play on that a little bit as well.
Yeah, and one thing you were touching upon is like his powers, right? So with his powers, he's very new, he's young, and he doesn't have, sort of a good grasp or handle on him. So he's sort of like a one-trick pony, in that he keeps doing the same little couple tricks that he's familiar with because he's used to it. So, but what we want to do throughout these, these comics and the story is show the progression of him learning to do more, to understand it more, because he's just sort of like, it's kind of like, you're given these tools, but you're not given how to use the tools. You're going to use them how you think they should be used, until somebody comes along and says, hey, no, wait, there's a better way.
No, man, that's such a good point, because even as young people, all of us were young at some point, and maybe, some of the folks watching the stream, maybe you're still a young person. And so we clearly don't have superpowers like the Nephilim, but we do have things that, talents that we have, or things you're good at, and those kind of things. And you want to, develop those things when you're younger. You're trying to figure out how to harness them. How do you harness them and really, make these things powerful? When you're a young person with like Nephilim, he has these superpowers. Nobody's holding his hand. Nobody's telling him what to do and how to project the powers or anything. Like, he's kind of figuring things out on his own, like somebody else who's in a similar situation. You got to figure it out, And I think that's another element too of the storytelling in terms of allowing readers to connect with the Nephilim in terms around him being young. He's kind of figuring things out, and a lot of people will identify with that because we've all been there at some point in our lives where nobody's giving you the playbook. There's no playbook. You have to figure it out as you go. And I think that'll be a really cool element to connect with here in the story.
Oh yeah, no, most definitely. That's one of the things that people like to sort of see the character grow. And that's, unfortunately, in a lot of the media that we have out there today, whether it be movies or television or even comics, is that there are characters that don't really go through anything. So you have no reason to root for them, right? You have no reason to say, hey, you know what? I see the mistake that you made. Maybe you didn't see that mistake, but I see that you made the mistake. And look at how you're attacking, or look at how you are processing or kind of going through how either to do something more positive or how not to do something negative for your future and for the future of your family and friends.
Yeah, man, that's a big piece of it too. And I think with stories, not like the Nephilim, that sort of being able to tell the story around those different the family dynamics. That's a big piece of it too. Not only is he's young, he's trying to figure things out, and his powers and some other things too, but his family dynamics, as I mentioned earlier, it helped shape him currently as a young person, right? Because of the dynamics with his dad and some other things that'll come out of the next few releases, you'll get more of a view into why are things the way they are because of some of the dynamics with his dad.
Yeah.
With the Nephilim's dad, and we'll find out more about him and kind of what his whole background is and how he got into the situation he was in and how that affects the Nephilim too.
Yeah.
So these are all really interesting things.
There's a whole dynamic with he has an older brother, and then also his mother, and how close he is to his mom because of his dad, and the close relationship that he has with his brother. And I think that that's really going to show you sort of like how family really helps him to sort of see the world. And we've been looking at other young characters, Spider-Man, Blue Beetle, even Static Shock, and how they sort of interact or handle these types of things. But yeah, I think that's going to be a big reason why he does the things he does, and we'll kind of show that progression and let it envelop on its own.
Yeah, that'll be certainly a part of it that we'll spend a lot of time developing in terms of how we tell that story, because it's going to be important to kind of take our audience on the journey with us, and that's another piece of it too that is critical to, and there's one thing we're actively thinking about is the journey of across, as Ryan mentioned, across 10 or so comics in the series is continuing to develop the story, but also keeping the connectivity with the character, with all of the different with the hero, with the villains, and all the other ancillary characters that get developed. We want you guys to stay with the story throughout the entire series and stay tied, closely connected to it,
mm-hmm.
if you will.
And one thing you also helped me out with, and kind of went back and forth on a lot of the things, was sort of the backstory of the main character cast, and sort of the secondary characters as well, because we really needed to kind of get a better sense of like well, who are these people, right? I mean, we're creating people that are, like the Nephilim. He's in a costume, but he's somebody underneath. And who is he? And why is he? And what motivates him? What gets him going? Why is he there? Why is he doing these things? Is it just because he has powers? Is it just because of the influence that his father or mother or brother or whoever his friends have? No, it's in a culmination of that. But I mean, it's it's just I don't know. I'm really happy with the things that we've done as far as like, drawing a backstory and kind of giving you the past and not really showing it, but you're not going to see it in the comic for this one, but there are things because it's layered. We do have things in place that show, okay, you know what, we're going to do some flashbacks because these things are important to show why this character is the way he is. And a lot of them too, even some of the villains, you're going to have backstory and say, oh, that's why he chose that route. That's why he went that way. I understand it. He's wrong, but I understand it.
Yeah, and I think the other part of it too is we wanted to, as we develop the characters and the whole backstory, is to, you know, maintain a level of also intrigue, right? And that's one thing you and I talked about and kind of been working through is what what's the across the series. There's something else happening,
Yeah.
outside of the day-to-day interactions and things that the Nephilim's going to be dealing with. There's an overarching kind of thing that's going to be going on across the series, and that's another piece of it too, another dynamic that's going to keep hopefully keep our audience and fans interested and connected to the story.
Yeah.
In terms of how the Nephilim is dealing with kind of the day-to-day things, and really trying to get Port City back in shape, right? Because crime's running so rampant. He cares about the city passionately, and he wants to help turn it around. And he's going to be dealing with family dynamics and things happening in the city, really trying to get things back on track and turn things around for the people in these different boroughs that he cares very deeply about, while also trying to fight a broader sort of thing that's happening across the series. So it's a really interesting story that's going to be developed here.
Yeah,
I'm excited about it.
And one of the things that you sort of touched upon was an organization that currently we're calling the Syndicate. We're probably going to continue to develop it because it's not set in stone yet, but there are underlying things happening, and he sort of in his sort of what do I want to say, patrols around his borough, around the city, he kind of fumbles into getting the attention of this organization that he has no idea what they're capable of, how big they are, what they're about, and they're just kind of catching wind of him, and they're saying, okay, here's this kid or guy, they don't know, he's in a mask, but here's this character with powers, and he's messing up some aspects of our operation. Let's neutralize that threat so that it doesn't mess up some of the things that we have going on. And by him sort of fumbling into that world, that's going to open up a sort of paradigm, or sort of a larger story that he wasn't prepared to get involved in. He thought he could just stay, just, hey, I'm the city's protector. I help old ladies, with their purses and stop, petty crime and stuff like that. Well, he's going to find out that it goes much deeper than that, and he's opened up the door, and he has to be prepared to either walk through it or run from it.
Oh man, and that's a good important you pointed out there, Ryan, in terms of the syndicate and this sort of overarching kind of thing that's kind of going on. And he's completely, because he's a young person, being young at times, you can not have proper level of awareness, but also or just be completely kind of naive. And that's kind of what he's like you mentioned, he's going to kind of stumble across this thing. He has no idea what he's dealing with. He probably doesn't even understand that it is an organized criminal organization, right? And they're very powerful. He has no idea of any of these things. He's just he's in the moment. He's fighting crime. He's trying to protect. Of course, he's in a moment. He kind of stumbles across this kind of broader sort of conspiracy thing that's happening, and we're going to work that out with the next couple of series of releases in terms of who is the syndicate,
Yeah.
who runs it, what are their objectives, how deep do their tentacles go in Port City and beyond, we're going to work those things out in the story, and that's an element too that we wanted to, add that level of intrigue and sort of drama to the story. So you don't just have a superhero story and a villain; you have this broader, layered sort of story that allows us to go down a lot of different avenues to tell stories and keep our audience engaged.
Yeah, yeah, and it's not your typical, superhero story. It does have layers. I took that aspect from like Batman. You've got Batman who's sort of a vigilante. He doesn't have any powers though, but he does go around and stopping different organizations and things like that. And I was like, you know what? It would be very interesting to see uh, sort of the same thing, and how would a younger person deal with it that has powers, not just somebody who's in martial arts who has an endless bank account and things like that. I was like, you know what, why don't we try a different kind of character in a similar setting where there is corruption, there are different sects, and there and it's a global kind of problem or a global kind of organization. And I was sort of thinking in kind of like Cobra from GI Joe, or the oh gosh, what is the Captain America's Hydra? I was like, why is it an octopus? Hydra's not that. So, but anyway, sort of a larger organization that, like you said, tentacles. They have their tentacles everywhere, but like, even though they have different sects, it's all part of the same head, but maybe they don't know they're part of the same organization on the higher level, So, you pit these two, entities against each other, and they don't know that they are of the same, origin or the same hierarchy. So, and when you get into those kind of situations, kind of like in organized sports, if you're going to fix the game, you don't fix one team, you fix them both. And then, of course, we find out who is, behind the strings later on. But yeah, I mean, I really like, coming up with layers of interesting issues and sort of throwing you off the trail and all that. So yeah, I mean, we got a lot coming up, man. We got a lot coming up.
Lot coming up. The other thing to stay tuned for, guys, is also, I thought Ryan did an amazing job of planting a lot of Easter eggs throughout the game. I mean, very deliberately planting a lot of Easter eggs. So once the comic gets released, this first book comes out, look for the Easter eggs. A lot of really good stuff in there, and it's gonna be cool. It's gonna be really cool. And
well, yeah, I'm gonna have something. We're gonna do like a little contest after it's released and in the hands of people.
Yeah.
Because the only way you're going to be able to see a lot of these Easter eggs that I have in here is with the PDF, which is the digital copy right here.
That's right.
Screen.
And you'll be able to zoom in and
you're gonna have to zoom in.
Yeah, right.
When I was initially drawing these elements, and I was putting them in, some are visible to the eye, but I kind of looked at it one day and I was like, man, you know what? I put a lot of detail and a lot of extra effort into things that I don't know that somebody can see. And I was like, so I zoomed it out on my screen here on my tablet, and I zoomed it out to, just an 8x11. I was like, oh, wow, I can't see that, but I can see it on my computer because I can zoom in. So you will be able to zoom in on your PDF. And I did draw this in 600 DPI. So 600 DPI is a very small pixel, which makes the image that much larger. And if it stays in digital form, that means that you can zoom in pretty far. So you will be able to see all the extra detail that I put in. And I'm going to have a contest as far as, I want to see how many people can find each and every one of my Easter eggs. And there's almost an Easter egg on every page. Not every page has one, but most of the pages have something from pop culture from my childhood on the page.
No, absolutely, and that's going to be exciting. I mean, like you said, if you have access to the digital version of the release, you'll be able to find some of those Easter eggs. Another thing too that we're really excited about is as we develop sort of the story over the next few releases is going to be planting the breadcrumbs
Mhm.
to build the story out around the syndicate and some of the other villains, right? So look out for those things too.
Yeah.
Once this release comes out, look for the breadcrumbs, the little uh, the little hints and things that you'll be able to see that'll give you to tip you off to what's going to be the broader sort of different storylines that are going to be built out over the next few releases.
Right. We are going to try to be as tactful as we can with the story and not making it too, what do I want to say? Not making it too obvious. But one thing we're not going to do is if somebody is on track and says, hey, I believe this, that, and whatever, and this is what's going to happen in the story, and just because they figured it out, we're not going to just go change the story and modify it to try to fool everyone. We feel the story is strong enough as is, and as we develop, as we continue to mold it and cultivate it and put it into print, we are going to press on with that vision. So we're not going to modify our story for the sake of the surprise or changing something about it to where it's sort of you know what do I want to say, just circumvents your expectations.
Mm.
But I mean, if you figure it out, great, but that's not going to stop us from the direction that we're headed. And the only thing that we do encourage and we would like to hear back from is feedback from the audience, feedback from the readers. Please tell us what you think, because you can help us refine things, aspects of it. Maybe this is a better idea. Maybe this is an interesting idea as well. We will definitely take those to heart. We will definitely, say, hey, you know what? Does this fit? Does this work? Does this help? Is this where we're going? And even if it's a good idea, but it doesn't serve the story, we still appreciate it. And, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to turn away good ideas.
No, we certainly won't. And again, going back to our earlier conversation around grassroots, right? Being at the grassroots level of this type of project, you have the opportunity as a fan, as a consumer, as a follow up that project to provide feedback, and then in some cases we might even incorporate different elements of that feedback into the comic where it makes sense. And not many of us, we weren't around when Superman and Batman were being developed. We didn't, we might, have a lot of different ideas about, storylines and character development, that kind of stuff. But you're not able to share those things to a level where they would get incorporated in any of these releases or in the cinematic universe or any of these kind of things, right? But for this type of project, you certainly do, and we have very broad aspirations for this project, right? And we really appreciate all the people who supported the project so far, and all the people going to continue to support us in the future. And we certainly want you to continue on this journey with us, right? We're looking to build a grassroots core fan base around this character, and we need your help. We need your help with feedback. We need your help with general support. We need you to stay with this story and to help us tell it.
Right.
Help us tell this story.
Yeah, we definitely, are engaging in this as a partnership with you guys in, just kind of, what you guys consume, and hopefully give us a review. We can go and we can listen to it and see if it challenges what we're doing. And, I mean, look, I'm fine with people critiquing that's completely what I'm looking for. You know, if you have a better idea, if you have a different way of seeing, seeing something that we've put out, then hey, let us know. I've had a couple of people challenge me with some questions and things like that. And you know what? Even though they had points, I had my point, and I was able to communicate with that person, and they said, hey, you know what? I respect that. I don't agree with it, but I respect it, and I wish you the best of luck with that. Because they understood where I was coming from. I understood where they were coming from. They had a good idea, but the idea didn't fit and serve where we were going. And sort of, just to touch on it, somebody was like, hey, you know what? Why are you calling this the Nephilim? Why are you calling this character the Nephilim, right? And in the Bible, aren't Nephilim bad? And so in the Bible, it's not really, given to you who they are or what they were. They were just giants or men of renown. And what we're taking is if you get a character like Heracles, most people know him as Hercules, but he would be one of those people that I would call a Nephilim. Now, I am at the end of the word, the root word is Nephal, which means to fall, and Nephal does mean the fallen ones, or the fallen one. I am is plural. That's kind of like goose, geese, moose, meese. Anyway, that's just plural. And the reason why, there is a reason why it's plural, and that's the reason, it's there's so much I'd love to tell you guys about why it's plural and why he goes by that name. He never calls himself that in the book, but there is a reason why the book is called this. And there's a reason why people are referring to him as that. And you'll find out when we start doing flashbacks and things like that, because it's going to be enrichment with, just lore and where it's coming from. What we have here, his logo on his chest is from, all over the world. And I can definitely kind of share that. But my main point was, you have Nephal, which is the sort of the ones that fell, and then you have the Il, Nephil, which are the men of renown. And that's kind of what he is, but modern day. He's sort of just a man of renown. And, that just means that, hey, he has a power set. The reason why he has these powers is because of something else that we're going to find out later. And it's very interesting how that occurs, or how that happens, and how that, the people that were called this, that predate in the flood, how did this power get to him? And there's so much more I can go into that, but it's just it's not about what you call them, because the root word is just to fall. It's not the evil ones, but it's more of what you do with the power that you're given. And that's what defines you, is the choices that you make with the power that you got from something that's out of your control.
Yeah, man. And on the earlier point where, this specific situation where there was some feedback that was provided about the name of the comic and, things around that, I'll just, just again, we appreciate all the feedback, whether it be, where things are called, elements of the story, it's all good feedback, because that means you're listening or you're watching for the story, and we appreciate that. And look, there will be things that, that won't be a good fit for the comic. There'll be ideas or general things that might get pointed out, and then there'll be some things that are a fit, and then those will be things that our production team will have to we'll take into consideration, and some of those things might get incorporated. And that's what's so cool about coming in a grassroots and being able to provide the feedback. Not only having an avenue to provide the feedback, but the feedback is actually going to be reviewed and by a broader production team. right? That's huge. That's huge for us, right? Because it helps you as a production team. It helps us get not only the feedback but also different perspectives on things. Maybe a new angle, something we haven't thought about. Like, oh, okay, that's interesting. That's a different way to think about that. Let's explore that a little bit more.
Yeah.
And so these all and Ryan, to your point around just the name, the Nephilim, the origins of where does it come from. I think there'll be a lot of different ideas of why is Batman called Batman, why is Superman called Superman, and you can there's some things that are trivial, and then there's some things or other things that have like a broader, deeper meaning.
Yeah.
That will come out in this case, right? And that's what makes this book so different, right? It's not a typical superhero comic, even though it's got some of the classic kind of familiarities in terms of, you have a hero, you have a main villain, and ancillary villains and that kind of thing. You have some of those elements that are familiar, which are important because, you can't make something so different that people can't connect with it because it's so foreign and they don't understand it. So we have to make sure we incorporate some of those classic kind of comic things. But what you'll find is this is one thing Ryan spent a lot of time on just in his own mind as a creator, just kind of thinking about the meaning of just the origin of the comic, the hero himself in this book. And this is something that Ryan, you've been developing this for many years, right? This is not something that just recently came about in the last couple of months. I started
developing this back in 2010, and it was just an idea. It was just an idea of like, oh yeah, that'd be cool because my kids and myself, we were playing video games, and the video games were superhero and origin, and you were able to come up with your own character. So we were being very choosy as far as like what we were gonna do, what type of power they had, and so just being or creating those things with my kids kind of got me into thinking about other things. I was like, what would happen if I created this character and this character had this power, and how does that work, and how would that look, and how does that, how does it all function? How is it? There's their cohesion, synergy, symbionts, all that. It gave me a lot of years to sort of contemplate and think about it. And so what I did was I drew a couple things out, and even the look of the character, which, as you can see here from the statue, he looks pretty cool. Pretty, people are like, oh, he's like Batman, but no, actually his ears or horns go back, and he looks like a hybrid from pretty much every superhero character that you've seen. So, but he's got his own distinct look, and I'm going to go into that with a couple videos later on, but as far as how I came up with his look. But yeah, his look has gone through different stages, and when I drew him all those years ago, he was more generic than he looks now. And what I came up with, I had to hone in on that, but I made characters and sort of gave him a backstory. And I've spent many nights talking to Rob over the phone about his father and about another character called Jack-o'-lantern, and just so many different things, and we've taken the time to refine and reflect, and through the course of time I've really been able to kind of go back and say, hey, you know what, my original idea wasn't the best, but I've gotten the privilege of years to meditate and ponder and really craft something better than I originally thought.
Yeah, and that's where when you're working on a story, that's why it is important to get different perspectives on things, right? I know at our production team, I've been one of the people providing some perspective and some different thoughts on on the Nephilim and the whole story around him and his universe. But also, I know for a fact that Ryan will go and get feedback from a lot of different people as well outside of our production team, which makes this book, he's got a lot of, friends and other creators, and he likes to bounce ideas and kind of work things out. And so that's why I feel really good that this story is a well developed story. Not only that it's been being developed over several years, but I know many people have been involved in providing feedback to help shape the story and make it better, make it more powerful, give it more legs, give it more layers. And that's what I think we have here in this story. And the other part too I wanted to mention is the and you'll see this come out within this first release is a return to providing the audience with some positive information at the end of the comic. And that's Ryan was super excited about that, and I thought it was a fantastic idea to kind of bring back that sort of what you have this story and there's something happening, you have a hero, and there's some sort of situations that are happening, the hero's engaging, but what happens at the end of the comic of each release. And I think that's going to be a cool thing that that you'll see come out is some information in terms of the Nephilim kind of sharing some information on some different dynamics and some things and situations that are happening. And that's a really cool element to it too that I think you guys will really enjoy.
Yeah, I hope so as well. I really enjoyed doing it, and we have many more ideas for because we're going to do this on every comic that we release. At the end, the last page is going to have something that is a little bit different from what you're reading. It's not in the continuity. It has nothing to do with the story. It's just a one page that is going to be drawn in different styles, and it's going to have different feels and messages and tone and all that. So so now I appreciate that. And yes, I do go out and try to get as much feedback as I can from as many different opinions as I can as well, right? Because I don't want to live in a vacuum chamber, and I don't want to just hear from one sect or one view, because it's not going to sharpen my skills at all. It's just going to say, hey, you know what, those things that I was listening to, yeah, okay, I'll listen to you, and I'll listen to somebody else that is like-minded, but I don't really grow or learn from that. I just kind of like tune to those types of opinions or views or whatever. So I really wanted to kind of branch out and ask a lot of different people from different walks of life what they thought of the thing that I was coming up with. Because if you look at Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, Wolverine, all these other characters, a lot of many different people like it. Many different people with many different points of view and walks of life, and pack stories of their own. Yeah, it's they all bring their own, I want to say baggage, but they all bring their own ideas of what they think the character is supposed to be. And that's how you end up with like people saying, hey, you know what, this isn't my Batman, this isn't my Superman, this isn't my this or that. So yeah, I just I definitely, and that's why I encourage people to say, hey, you know what, comment in the chat or comment in the comment section on the YouTube or TikTok or Instagram or any of that. But well, hey Rob, I appreciate you coming by, bro. Thank you so much, man. I couldn't have got here without you. I really value everything that you've done for this project so far, and what we're going to continue to do in 2026 and beyond.
No, thank you, Ryan. Thanks for having me, man. And I'm excited as well in 2026 and beyond, but definitely for 2026. This project is really going to get some legs on it in 2026. We're excited about not only this first release, but all of the releases that are going to come thereafter in terms of building out the story for the Nephilim. Right. So stay with us, stay tuned. Thank you for your support, and more to come, guys. Thank you, Ryan, for having me.
Oh man, anytime, dude. Anytime I come on a stream, you are more than welcome to join me.
Thanks, bro. Take care, man.
Yes, sir. Hey, have a good rest of your holiday, and we'll see you next time, man.
See you, man.
Later.
Bye.
He's not leaving. Anyway, thank you so much, Rob. That guy is a huge, huge help, and I really appreciate him, man. He's a great guy, and I'm happy to have known him for so many years. Excuse me. So, anyway, we are about 30 minutes away. If you haven't secured your copy of the Nephilim, the buy-in is as little as $5. And even if you buy our cheapest buy-in for something physical, which I believe is $12, I've got these handy dandy lanyard and ID cards, which has some information on the back, that I'm going to give out. And guys, I have plenty to give out. Yes. Plenty. Anyway, plenty of those, and also plenty of the 3D printed rings, which I have on the screen now. Woo! Already printed. You know, it's not something that's going into production. It's something that I already put through production, and we are going to send out. The same thing with the 6-inch statue. We're also going to offer. Can you see that? We're also going to offer. It's really dark. Hold on, let me pull that up here because I have a better image of it. Oh, we also have T-shirts. Seashells. Anyway, we have T-shirts that I personally screen printed myself, and I'm happy to have done that. And they're already bagged and ready to go. So I have all sizes. I have small, medium, large, extra large, 2X, 3X, 4X. The 2X, 3X, 4X. Yeah, the 2X, 3X, 4X are in the purple shirt, and the smaller sizes are in the cyan or light blue shirt. Let me see. Oh yeah, I was looking for there it is, the statue. Let me see if I can zoom in. Oh, there we go. Look at that. Oh yeah. So there's the statue. If you want to grab one of those, it is a 3D printed statue, and I think it looks really cool. This, like I said, we have it in 6-inch, and it stands up very well on its own, as you can see from the image. Oh look, I'm pointing at the image. As you can see from the image, it stands up very well on its own. So very cool. And then we're gonna have a 10-inch statue for those who want a larger statue, and you can put it on a big bookshelf. And we have two versions. We're going to have one that is going to be gray, and then we have another that is going to be black, white, purple, blue, and tan, and that's it. Yes, so it's going to be full color, and for the same price. So grab one of those if you like that kind of thing in your home and you want to help support us. We would definitely appreciate it. Any support. So we are about almost half an hour, and if you haven't gotten your copy yet, please do so. I encourage you guys, once you get a copy, like I said, we're going to send some goodies out with it. And yeah, so please join us in growing this, because we are very passionate about this. Which way? Oh, that's the last image. Okay, yeah. Like I said, I screen printed these shirts. Those are 3D printed rings. And then this is from Robert Marzullo, and I helped color it. Let me go and zoom that in. And you can go to his YouTube channel. He's got a lot of drawing tutorials. He's very good. There we go. That looks nice. So yeah, so I colored that. I gave it sort of a reddish, yellowish color for the background, and then he is starkly blue, just kind of make him pop. And I am very happy with that one. Oops. Okay. And then this one was done by Jimmy Reyes last year, and I haven't seen this guy. He used to talk a lot, but now he's gone. But he's a very nice guy and very great artist, and he worked with an artist that I am very much influenced by, and that would be not Jimmy Reyes. I'm sorry. David Finch. He did a lot of line work, not line work. He's done a lot of inking for David Finch. Let me see. 1 second. I'm going to switch microphones because I hear feedback now. Okay. Okay, that's better. No, it's not. I can still hear me. Okay, well, whatever. Let me go back just in case, because we haven't had any problems. Okay. So anyway, so there's that one. Again, same thing. I colored this one. I gave it warm tones at the bottom and very cool tones on himself. And the moon is very bright in the background, which really makes him stand out and him pop. So, and I did the moon detail myself. I really, that's move the Neph out of the way. I just want to see the moon. It's huge, but it looks cool. And let's see. Let me go to the next one. The next one. There you go. The next one is one of my favorites. I just wanted to have this to where it was just the chest, right? And that's why I put it on these cards. You know, put it on there because I'm like, you know what? This one right here is, I guess, the most limited release that we're gonna have because I like it so much. I want a minimum amount of copies so that it is worth a lot of money to me. So I had a lot of fun making that. I was like, you know what? I love the symbol so much that I wanted to share it with the world. This one right here. This is the very first image that I drew. And as you can see here, that little icon right there, that is done by Blaze Manga. So check out Blaze Manga at Blaze Manga Productions. They develop their own book. Sorry. And this is their manga, and I have a copy of that. So it's but he, Simon Calderon did a fantastic job coloring this, but also a fantastic job coloring that for us. So thank you so much. And yeah, as you can see here, the dark light energy is sort of going around him. Oh wow, you can see my cursor. Ta-da. And yeah, I think that this one really pops, and it is one of my favorites. Like I said, it was the first one that I drew. And that's the first one that I had some other elements that I've since changed. I'm going to show that in a minute. Let me go through the other one. So this is the cover A. This is going to be the one that we are going to have after this campaign is over. This is the cover that you're going to get. This was drawn by me and colored by me. And it doesn't completely show the chest logo, but it shows that it's just a dynamic shot. I wanted to come up with something that was like capturing action, and this action is in the book. So that's why I'm so happy about that. I don't know. The biggest thing for me is the light pole. I think it looks cool, even though it's just a light pole. But I even put the number. Hold on, can you see it? No, you can't see it here. But I even put the little number on there. I think it was like 25. But they all have 25 because I think that's either the lumens or the type of light that's in it. But anyway, so that's that. And I put the little windshield down here with the reflection of the building. That I was like, I love this one. I love this one. So what was I going to share? Oh, I was going to share my screen. Hold on 1 second. All right, let's see. That went away. Okay. All right, we're going to take that down and we'll minimize that one. And then, hold on 1 second, guys. I'm going to open up something that I've been working on. And then, I wonder if I can share it. Anyway, no, I'm just going to drag it up here. Doop-a-doop. There it is. There it is right there. Hold on, let me turn this off. Okay. And then, why did that pop up? Okay. That go away. That go away. That go away. Hold on, wait. Photoshop. Okay. So this is what I've been working on. Let me zoom in. So as you can see here, got Batman. Oh, can I put that away? Yeah, I can. That's not what I wanted. That one. Okay. So there we go. So there's Batman. And there's Spider-Man. And so I'm coloring it now. I have to add the shadows. I sort of have the shadows worked out a little bit for Batman. If you can see, his cape is on the ground. And here's Nev. Hey, what's up? And then there's Superman. And I have him right there. He looks pretty good. And lastly, we have Wolverine. And he looks pretty good. So on the other cover that I had, let me pull that one back up. Not this one. This one. Yeah, this one. Well, that's not the best. Well, let me zoom in. Anyway, so I had Batman, Spider-Man, and Superman on here. But I spoke with the artist and he said, hey, it'd probably be best if we just put the main hero on the cover. And I said, you know what? I trust you. We can do that. And then so I transferred Batman, Superman, and Spider-Man. And then I put another drawing of my character in between them. So he wasn't busting through, but he's just kind of smiling. Everybody else is like, kind of grimacing or, like, hey, what's up? What are you doing? And and then I have Wolverine who, is like vicious. Look at him. He's like, I'm so upset. But his arm hair, oh, wow. That took me a little bit to kind of get right. I referenced a lot of images, but I was like, man, and I was looking at my own arm hair and I was like, how is this supposed to look? But I think it came out pretty good. Even this one up here. Arm hair. I've never done arm hair like that before. So I think it looks good. And I'm going to go through and I'm going to detail the background. I've mainly done with the characters. There are a couple of things I need to do with their eyes and their teeth to kind of make them to where they don't stand out so much. But I'm going to add a little bit more to the background, make it a little bit more dynamic. And I haven't figured out how I'm going to release this yet. But I am going to release it. So, and with this, Superman doesn't have his logo. You can't see it on his chest. He doesn't really have a logo. But Spider-Man, I didn't put the spider on his back. And you can't see the spider on his chest. And the Batman is hiding his bat logo or bat symbol. And so you can't really see anything on there. So I did not want to put trademark or copyrighted images on this, but I wanted to still have it to where you could tell who they were. And I tried to give the best representation for those characters. So that is what I've been working on. And I've been putting some of that on Twitter, which I've found is very difficult to get anyone to see it. If you are a fan of Wolverine or a fan of Batman or a fan of Superman or a fan of Spider-Man, because hashtags aren't really a thing now. How do you show people who are interested in those characters, hey, look, here's my version? Yeah, I don't know. But if anybody has any ideas on how to get in front of those people, I'd appreciate it, because I would like them to, kind of look at it and give me their opinion or feedback. So, here we are. We are 23 minutes away from the closeout of this campaign. And again, I want to thank my producer, Robert Ford, or as he put on there, Rob Ford, for coming by and kind of hanging out with me. And I appreciate that a lot. He is he's a great guy to kind of bounce ideas off of. And there are other things that we're going to be working on together. There it is. And in the future, along with this, and he's just a really good guy to collaborate with. We have a lot of different things. Let's see. She knows. Again, if you like wearing shirts, I made some. Let me go ahead and just zoom in a little bit on what I did. So on the purple shirt, you know, I did the chest, but I also put it on either side of the sleeve so that you can rock the title on the front, but then on the sides of the shirt, you know, kind of looks cool with the logo on there. And that looked cool. And then with this one, he's just kind of jumping through. That was the first image of him that I drew for the comic. And so I wanted to put that on a shirt. And I made the word. No, it's not word. Well, I made the font, but I also made the word arts from scratch. And so very proud of that as well. Everything that I've done for this comic book has been from scratch. Now, with a lot of the comic book shading, you know, I jumped on Pinterest. I looked in my little library of comics here and looked for examples of comic book shading, because that's, you know, I'm an artist by trade, but not a comic book artist. So I really had to learn how to, and I'm still learning how to ink or shade using the hatching, cross hatching, just different types of line art, and with digital. So I'm also a traditional artist when it comes to drawing things like that. So I'm not used to drawing on a tablet. So there are a lot of things that I had to learn along the way, and I think that I've done a pretty good job of picking that kind of stuff up. I've learned how to, you know, just how they pencil digitally, how to transfer it into line art, also how to ink, also how to flat, which is very tedious, but it's actually relaxing when you're listening to music. Very relaxing. And also kind of learning how comic books are colored. So a lot of different things, you know. Back in the day, they used to have flat colors. So if I flatted it, that would have been the end of it. But I said, you know what? Let me show you a couple pages if I can. Hold on one second. I'm gonna take that away. And so I took what I learned and applied it to all the pages. Let me look on here real quick. Is that no? Which one? No. Hold on. These are the pages that I put up on the website. No. That's not it. Anyway, let me see. No, that's not it. Screenshots. No. Where are my? Where did I put them? They're not in pictures. Hold on one second, guys. Hold on. Not screenshots. No. That's one thing I do need to do is get a little bit more organized. Hold on. That's not it either. No. Hold on one second. That's not it. Is it? Oh. I could do that. Yeah. There it is. Okay. Oh, whatever. That's our test copy. Anyway. Cool. All right, so that is now on the screen. And like I can zoom in. Like here's McDowell's. There is Joe's Pizza. And there's the sign for Joe's Pizza, 29-minute delivery guaranteed. There is Flynn's. There is Ray's Occult Books, Smart Tech. Oops. Can I not zoom in? Yeah, okay. QT Nail. And then the bank. The bank, I don't want to say where it's from. But yes, that is a what do I want to say? Easter egg. This one, that's a bank. Hold on, I thought I had that one. No, I don't want to say that. Oh, there it is. Look at that. It's my building. So I put that in there. Oh, there's Easter eggs in here as well. I don't want to show that. Yep. Different cars. Some are Easter eggs, some are not. Oh, yeah. Even with this, I wanted to kind of show, like, if you look at the building, it looks like, there's a room in there. And then down here, it looks like there's a door, entryway, all this extra stuff that I probably didn't need to do. It looks like there's a light up here. All this extra that I didn't feel like I really needed to do, but I did it anyway. And so here it is, Port City, present day. Once a bustling city filled with hardworking people looking to make a better life for their families. In recent years, a dark shade of crime has poisoned the streets of this metropolis. With criminal organizations on the rise and law enforcement paid to turn a blind eye, who can protect the innocent and uphold justice? Well, I know who. Anyway, so it's like, turn here. You know where we're going, right? We can't get caught before we get there. So, that, and then here's this page. And this is not really an Easter egg, but I thought that was cool because that looks very Super Mario. So, but I put my last name on there. So it's my book. I can put my name on there, right? So that was cool. And then a lot of fun with this page. Got that blip, kind of showing that the camera's going off. And then he's got himself a Garmin watch, if you know what that is. And yeah, so that was a fun page. That was a fun page to color. So one of the first ones that I colored myself. I wasn't originally supposed to color the book. I had a colorist, and then he colored me a couple pages, and then he went MIA. So I had to learn how to color. So yeah, there's that. So if you get into making comics, if you're an entrepreneur and you want to do your own comic, that is something, well, not just with comics, but any venture, you need to know that you have to be, oh, that's why. Why do I have these on? I'm not hearing anybody but myself. So, I can give my ears a rest. But yeah, with any venture, if you're going to see it through, you have to be able to complete the project on your own, or have the finances enough to pay for somebody to help complete the project for you. So, since I am an artist myself, I was like, well, I've already spent enough funds of my own on the project, so I need to be able to complete this if something goes awry. And it did. You have to plan for problems and issues and things like that. So it's it made, for me, it made the project go a lot further, or a lot longer than I originally anticipated, because I was going to do another task that I hadn't originally planned on doing. I was hoping that, if I did have to color, it would be just touch-ups and things like that. It'd just be, a little bit here and there, but, I could trust somebody else to color it as long as I continue to feed them, money, they would, help color it for me, and then we get done a lot quicker. Well, that didn't happen, and I had to learn quickly how to color like this person so that I didn't have to go back too far, and I didn't have to recolor the whole thing because, my style and his style aren't really on the same level. So, there are things that he could do that I couldn't, and there's some things that I could do that he couldn't. And so I had to kind of learn how to color his way and try to make it look as close to his, style as possible. And so if you look at this page and this page, you can see that there's a little bit of a difference, but I took over some of the coloring on here. I did the whole page, the last 2 pages, but I took on some of the coloring on this page as well, just to give that cohesion, just to make it look like, okay, this all kind of, goes together. And I really took what he did and I kind of spruced it up a little bit here and there. So, the things that he turned in were fine, but I had to go through and I had to do extra work in order to get to, I don't want to say my standard, but in order to be happy with the thing that was going to be released. What he did was fantastic and I really liked it, but I added a lot myself. And and after this campaign is over and I, am finished with certain things that I'm working on, I'll go back and I'll show the differences, in what I've learned, and hopefully people can kind of learn from that. Because one of the things that you find online is that, you can find a lot of information that can help you out with whatever project you're working on, but not always, So, if you're looking for that one specific thing, it's that one thing that you can't find. And I ran into that kind of thing a lot. So that's where, like Gemini and ChatGPT and all that kind of came in to help me out, because it would scour the internet to find that one thing that I was missing. I would say, hey, this is the problem that I'm running into. Where can I find a tutorial, or where can I find a page, or where can I find a video on how to do this thing? And it was very good about, kind of helping me out as far as showing me where to go and how to find that. Anyway, that's as far into the comic that I want to show. Because you guys, the everybody that has paid into it, I want them to get the full experience. So, but yeah, wait, I think I just went one more page. No, I didn't. I don't want to show the next page. I am correct. Don't want to show the next page. Okay, I'm going to close that out so I don't make a mistake. But anyway, I have 10 minutes left, guys. 10 minutes left on this campaign. If you have been on the fence, if you don't know whether or not you wanted to, invest, the least amount is $5. If I can tear $5 from you, if I can pull $5 toward you, I'm sure that you would be, at the end of that saying, hey, you know what? At the end of that, I shouldn't have fought. I should have said, hey, here's $5. This is worth $5 of entertainment value for me. So if I can at least entice you to do that, I would appreciate it. So, but with this campaign, I'm very pleased and very happy with it. There are things that I have learned these last 5 months that I've been doing campaign trails, or on the campaign trail rather. I've learned a lot. I've learned what to do, and a lot of what not to do. I still have a lot of learning to go because, again, my area of expertise is not marketing, but I do the best with what tools I have. So, again, thank you guys so much. We are 8 minutes out. I would love to see a couple more people say, hey, you know what? It's worth it. I'm going to go ahead and dive in. let's see, 7 minutes and 48 seconds left. And guys, if you have already purchased a comic, thank you so much. I appreciate it. You guys rock, and you guys will not be unsatisfied with what you have. I'm going to include some extra stuff along with the purchases, and because of where we are, there are a few other things that I'm going to add for the people that did purchase. So we didn't get to unlock some of the stretch goals, which I had planned to do, but you know what? I'm going to still do some of the stretch goals, and I'm going to come up with different and creative ways on how to implement them, and get them into the hands of people who, you know, maybe just find out about this. You know, I mean, not many people know us, not many people know who we are. You know, we had our campaign was on Indiegogo for a good while, and but yeah, I mean, you know, I don't know how bumping the or how popular the comic book scene is for indie comics, and so I'm going to be on a couple shows, a couple other streams coming up. It is after the campaign, but you know what? We're not going to stop promoting the book. The campaign will be over, but there will be other ways of obtaining the book, and but yeah. So again, thank everybody. I appreciate you, whether you are a friend of mine, if you are related to me, if you are not related to me, if you are somebody that just found the project and says, hey, you know what, this project was cool enough to help you guys out. I appreciate it so much, man. Everyone means a lot to me, and it means a lot to the people that are working with me to help create and help make this thing possible. So I'd like to thank everybody, and thank you so much, guys. I don't know what else to say. I want you to check out our website. We have a lot of cool stuff that we have on the website. Let me go ahead and pull that up real quick. Hold on one second. Sorry. Should have had that pulled up. Here it is. Here we go. Here we go. I've got a countdown clock on here as well. It's right there. So we got one there. It says 3. Oh, well, the countdown clock on the website will stop before the countdown on the Indiegogo page, but it's still the same. You know, we have the trailer on there. We have the Port City. Let me show you guys this. Port City. Welcome to Port City. Start your tour, and if you click on that, it'll open up, and you can click on the audio link here, and you can listen to, you know, basically what these different areas in the city are. And like I said, we are going to, you know, we're world building, and, you know, so in doing that, we are, you know, just trying to make this such an enriched experience for readers, to where it doesn't just end with the comic. We have a lot of things online that you can get to as well. Like if you wanted to find out about some of the characters that we have, you can click on this guy, and you can find out information on him. Dr. Byron Cruz. Let me go back. Let's see. Officer John Peters. You can find out about him. He has a little less information because, you know, don't want to give too much away for some of these characters. But he definitely has a pretty cool arc. And I'm definitely interested in kind of getting into that. But let's see, we have these two down here, which have question marks on them because we haven't released anything yet. But once they are released, they'll have information as well as far as who they are. And then you have a little bit of backstory on the hero. Let's see, we have Dark Light Energy, and you can find out a little bit more about it here. So, and yeah, that'll take you to the 3-page preview. You can check out our shop. We have a lot of digital prints on our shop. So we have fonts as well. I have the Back to the Future font. I have the font of justice, which is all the movie posters that you saw of, like, the superheroes and things like that. That was their lettering. This is the comic font that I drew, and I have that available. So if you don't want to letter your own comic book and you just want to have a little bit of assistance, that is not Comic Sans. I called it Comic Fans. I got Font Wars, which is an accurate depiction of the Star Wars font. And so yeah, I have that. And then I have digital prints down here. I got the Roadrunners, the Flash, Super Mario Brothers, Mario and Tron, Son of the Batman. And then I have this one here, which is behind me, that I got printed on a large canvas. Now let's click on that one. There we go. Yeah, well, here, I don't think I can make that larger. Anyway, that's the Angels versus Demons, Batman, Bat Family versus Kryptonian Family, and then Quack to the Future, which is which is Mickey Mouse and Donald in Back to the Future theme. So pretty fun stuff. So if you like any of these, you can grab yourself a copy there. Right now they're in PDF only. So if you just download the PDF, you can take it to any print shop, or I think Walmart has a photograph place that can print it for you, and you can hang it on your wall. But they are print ready, and they look nice. And here we are, 50 seconds, guys. So I want to take one last time to just let you guys know I appreciate all of you, and thank you so much. Please like, follow, share. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and help us do that. Thank you so much, guys, and I'm going to leave you with a trailer and transition. You've spent a lifetime running from who you are. I tried to shield you from it, and I was wrong. But the time has come to show the world what you can do. Son, embrace your destiny.